Hey friends, welcome and thanks for tuning into the Heat Press for Profit podcast. Here at Stalls, we always aim for these podcasts and all of our educational content to inspire you, right? With new ideas or just to help you learn, connect, and reach your own success. Be sure to join the community over on our Heat Press for Profit and Easy Prints Decorators Facebook groups if you are not already a member. So head over there right now, Facebook. Join the community. It is like-minded creatives, entrepreneurs, small businesses, and apparel decorators just like you. But my name is Dave from Stalls and Transfer Express, and I'm going to be your host for this episode. And today we are diving into some real questions from decorators and from our audience joining us here live today. That's you. That's you. So if you have a question, a hot question about heat printing or apparel decoration or anything like that, let us know wherever you're tuning in from. The comments come here into the studio in real time. And if you're catching this on a replay, feel free to leave a comment on whether it be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever you're tuning in from or watching a replay on, and we'll be able to get an answer for you as well. It won't be real time and it won't be on the show, but it's still going to be fun. We still want to be here to help you out. Now, of course, in the apparel decorating industry, there's not always a clear-cut answer, and making a wrong decision as an apparel decorator can cost you a lot of time and money, or in the worst case, lose you a customer. So let's see if we have any questions coming in. I see some friends joining us and commenting from our YouTube and Facebook channels. But before we have all of those questions come in, because I'm going to jump between the chat and some questions that we got on Instagram yesterday. If you were following Stalls on Instagram and the Instagram stories, we were asking decorators some questions. So we've got some questions already that came in, as well as from those Facebook groups, the Heat Press for Profit or the Easy Prints Decorators group, which is a little bit more of like a Transfer Express specific group. But both of those communities are absolutely phenomenal. And that's where we got some of our questions here today to get on in. Hello, Mona, and Mona's tuning in on our YouTube channel. Perfect. So I'm going to jump right in and get us going. So the big question this week, we heard from customers calling in on the phone. We heard from decorators in our Facebook groups, as well as some pre-show. So we're heading out to Printing United next week. And if you're listening to this on the replay, it may have already passed and maybe we saw you there. But if you're planning on heading out to Printing United, stop by the Stalls booth, the Apparel Zone, the Apparelist Live Theater. We've got a ton of stuff going on from myself, Josh Ellsworth, Kelly Walters, and Jenna Sackett's going to be there. Also, Jason from our Fulfill Engine division, a brilliant guy who loves helping apparel decorators out, and he's an apparel decorator himself in that right, or his family's apparel decorators. He's been involved in the industry for quite a while. So the first question, hot off this week, is what is single image? So this is a new program that rolled out just a couple weeks ago, especially on the Transfer Express side, but also over on the Stall side with the screen print transfers Inktra, right? So when we're talking about single image, we'll be talking here about the Inktra screen print transfers from from Stalls and the goof-proof screen printed transfers from Transfer Express, right? So these are essentially low cost, non-gang sheet transfers, right? So just a single image. How traditionally you've ordered screen print transfers like Goof Proof or Hot Split, Elastiprints from Transfer Express, you would have to order them on a sheet. So the sheets were what we call gang sheets, which is a printing industry term, essentially for everything you could fit on the sheet ships for the same price. Well, now we offer single image transfers, which drastically lower the cost. Now, there is a 50 quantity minimum, but if you go in and price out the orders either as gang sheets or single image, you're going to see how drastic of a pricing change that is. So I know this is just going to be ballpark off the top of my head, but head on over to transferexpress.com. You could click the calculator at the top to see the instant quote, or if you go into EasyView Online Designer, select those different sizes of the goof-proof transfers, whether they be the gang sheets or whether they be the single image, and you'll see pricing update in real time at the bottom of the screen. So 6 sheets, right, is the minimum quantity of our screen print transfers in the gang sheet option. There are 2 sizes, standard and jumbo, right? Both the minimum of 6. Now, with that standard size sheet, you're probably looking around like $58, $59 for 6 sheets, right? But as soon as you go to 12, it's like $60, right? So with screen printing, there is the setup involved, but there are no hidden setup fees or anything like that, even with the single image transfers, right? So we're at $58 for 6 of our standard gang sheets. Well, you could order 50 single image transfers that are smaller than 12 and 3/4 inches by 9 inches, right? And it's going to be like the same price. So you could get 50 transfers for $58, or you could get 6 gang sheets. Now, gang sheets are great if you're going to be doing inside tag prints. Maybe you have a left chest print or a back print, or multicolor artwork. You have 2 or 3 colors in your screen print design at a higher quantity. Gang sheets are still going to be the way to go because single image are low cost. A limited ink palette, let's say, so not the standard 70 ink colors that we have here at Transfer Express. I believe it's 24 or 25 different ink colors, but they are the most popular inks that we've seen printed over the past 30 years, right? So we have data on all of the usage of different ink colors. So odds are white, black, the reds, the blues, the popular ink colors that you're going to be printing with are available in the single image transfers. Now, just like the gang sheets, they are available in 2 sizes, right? But it is still just a single image. And that's going to be that 12 and 3/4 inch by 9 inch that I was mentioning, and the 12 by 12 inch as a full size single image transfer. So that is that's great. So I see a question coming in from Instagram, and this is the Seed Smitty J. What if my image is 3 by 3? Could I still order Inktra? And yes, you absolutely can. So those 2 sizes that I mentioned are the same whether you're ordering single image goof proof or you're ordering the Inktra screen print transfers from Stalls. It's 12 and 3/4 inches by 9 inches or 12 by 12 inches. All you have to do is just order the smaller size. So it's priced up to that size. Now, the great thing about this too is say you order that 3 by 3, right? It's just, I think in Inktra, just over $1 per print. And it's going to be cut to size. So you're not going to have any extra paper, no transfers. We're saying cut costs, not transfers, right? So everything comes pre-cut, ready to apply, which is absolutely fantastic. So thanks, Smitty J, for asking that question right there. Let's just make sure I'm not missing anything else while we're still talking on this. Scotty says, love the single image offering. And I absolutely do too. For those like high quantity single color jobs. And I know with my 14 plus years of apparel decorating, the vast majority of what I am printing is typically white ink, right? And a ton of them. So this makes it incredibly affordable to be able to actually either compete with those really low cost print shops out there, or add more profit into your pocket. So that's huge. And then, yeah, just some shout outs here, just starting the show. Mary says, hello, everyone. And Nancy says, I'm so psyched to be here. I'm psyched to be here, too. I'm so excited to do these podcasts. And it's probably about, I think I get to do one about once a month, of course, rotating between Josh, Kelly, and Jenna as well. And J Rabbit Crafts says hello from the rabbit hole. Now that's branding. I absolutely love it, right? You call it the rabbit hole and Rabbit Crafts. That's so cool. Love the cohesive branding, the brand identity that you've just built in literally that one little hello, that little greeting. That's fantastic. I bet you're doing awesome. So let's see. Another question comes in from Kevin. How could I email a customer of a picture of what I've made for them in the online designer, right? So great question, Kevin. And I want to thank you for asking that. So one way to be able to do that in the EasyView Online Designer, whether you're using EasyView Online Designer on Transfer Express or Stalls, right? It is available on both websites to order Ultracolor Max. And then on Transfer Express, you could order a ton of other transfers from the Ultracolor Pro, the hybrid transfers, all the way to the screen print transfers, the entire line, puff, inks, glow in the dark. You could even order stickers through the EasyView Online Designer by designing online. But I could get on an hour-long tangent of EasyView Online Designer. It is one of my favorite pieces of software that exists on this planet just because it empowers anyone, whether you have a design background, if you went to art school for graphic design, right, like me, or if you can't even draw a stick figure, right, you could create awesome professional looking custom t-shirt artwork that's going to sell, and your customers are going to be super stoked about it. All right, so how could I email a customer a picture of what I've made? So what you could do is over in the left-hand menu in Easy View Online Designer, there's a mock-up feature. So you could actually click on mock-up, mock it up on a t-shirt, which is what I feel like in my 14 years of experience helps convert more. You could show somebody a design and they're like, cool, that's great. But until you show them their idea brought to life on a model, either wearing a t-shirt or just a flat lay t-shirt, their idea comes to life and they're like, here's my credit card, I'm ready to place this order, right? So I always like mocking things up and bringing life to just a flat design. Now, what you could do in Easy View Online Designer, if you just want to email it, the design that you created, you could screenshot it, right? So I think it's Windows Shift S or Command Shift 4, I think, on a Mac. And you could just screenshot it. It'll be a low resolution file, but it's perfectly sized to email, right? But in that mock-up feature, you could mock it up. There is a full catalog of apparel styles in there with accurate colorways to what they're actually available in. So you could mock it up in there. You could even turn on and off a little watermark. If you're worried about them taking the image and then, you did this work to put a design together and then they go run off to another printer, you could put a watermark all over it. Or you could just click the little toggle button that takes the watermark off and then click the download button. And it's going to download it at right around 1200 by 1200 pixels. So it's perfect for those product images that are on Etsy, or if you run a Shopify store or any other online store, Spirit Sale or Fulfill Engine. Fulfill Engine is going to make the mock-up for you, but for like Spirit Sale, you can make that mock-up right there and pull it right on in. So yeah, two different ways that you would be able to share your images from the Easy View Online Designer to proof with your customers. So we know that's a huge step in decorating here. So Kurt says, Danny sold me a dual air fusion yesterday and I will get $2,000 in free transfers. So yes, if you are tuning in live or you're tuning in on the replay and it's still September, the heat press deal of the century is going on. So just like Kurt said right here, pretty much dollar for dollar match of every heat press that you're going to buy. It's limit one per customer, but if you buy a heat press from Transfer Express, dollar for dollar match up to $2,000 comes back to you in account credit. So Kurt here bought a dual air fusion heat press, absolutely the pinnacle of innovation of heat printing technology. There is no other press that has the features, the connectivity, as well as the efficiency and just ease of use that dual air fusion does. Of course, it's made in the United States with a lifetime warranty on the heating element, which a lot of other heat press manufacturers cannot say it's made in the USA, nor can they offer a lifetime heating element warranty because they would go out of business. The 5-year on all of the framework of the machine, 3 years on the electronics, and 1 year pretty much bumper to bumper warranty on anything that may go wrong with it. We trust in the quality of Hotronics presses, and because they have such a long lifespan, the service is based in the United States right here. Call up a 1-800 number, talk to a technician, and be able to get replacement parts easily shipped to you because they're shipping out of Pennsylvania right here, right? They're made with that Pennsylvania steel. I know the football season's coming up. Even being a Cleveland Browns fan, the Pittsburgh Steelers steel, right, is helping make those heat presses in there. So yes, we're going to keep going here. And yeah, so take advantage of that heat press offer. It is absolutely insane. Yeah, so if you buy an autoclam, right, $1,950. The autoclam is my favorite heat press, number one, because of the all of the features it has, the commercial. I mean, it's been tested in and out of shops. $1,850 is added right back into your Transfer Express account to use on custom transfers, right? Ultra Color Max, screen print transfers, pretty much anything you could order in the Easy View Online Designer, you could apply those credits towards. And you have until through May of next year to use those credits. So if you're a decorator out there and you use over $2,000 of transfers a year, or in a 9-month span or whatever it is until the end of May, essentially until June, right? If you are spending that on transfers, go get yourself a free heat press because we're going to give you 100% of your purchase price back, even if you're just buying a craft press. $375. That's $375 of extra transfers, free transfers, right? So the dual air fusion, you max out at that $2,000 of account credit. But great. Congratulations, Kurt, for taking advantage of that. Absolutely incredible deal. I don't know how they approved it. I know I'm excited about it. I'm getting the heat press and a whole bunch of free transfer credits, right? So you should too. Let's see. Mary asked a question here. Maybe repetitive, but would you be able to use a purchase design, for example, from Etsy on a gang sheet? Absolutely, you can. So let's just say a gang sheet of screen printed transfers, the goof-proof screen printed transfers, right? You could take that design that you purchased from Etsy. It's typically, you'll see them as PDF files or SVGs, so scalable vector graphics, which are great, right? So take either one of those files, even if it's a JPEG or PNG or whatever it might be, whatever that file is that you bought, just click upload in the EasyView Online Designer, and you could upload it, resize it, recolor it, put it on the gang sheet wherever you want, and then arrange all of your extra art. It's super, super simple. We have a video over on the Transfer Express YouTube page. There's an entire playlist of EasyView tutorials and how-tos. There's also master classes that I think are hours long. So the little bite-sized chunk videos, you could grab the video for how to upload your files and just follow that workflow. Vector files, those SVGs, PDFs, AI files, import in as if you're still in Illustrator or Corel Draw, right? They are vector files. So you could rescale them without losing any resolution. You could recolor them, even if you want to like ungroup, right? You have a little character holding a flag and the flag is a different object. You could actually ungroup it and remove the flag. So you have all of those vector controls that you typically do, essentially minus a pen tool. So Mary, I hope that helps. Let's see. Scotty says, someone tell my wife that I need the 360 IQ. Can't believe how much the hat industry has blown up, and it absolutely has. I will say, I think it's safe to say that the vast majority, now that we are just 6 days into September here, just over 7 or 8 days because of the weekend of the sale, and the vast majority of them are the 360 IQ cap press. So it's a perfect opportunity to be able to pick up that extra, kind of opportunity or extra capabilities for your shop of being able to decorate hats and headwear. Absolutely love that machine. It's it's with the even if you're not using patches and emblems, right, that you need that lower heat for, just that patented shape of that lower platen where it's not creasing. You could easily decorate, just like if you're watching us here live, I do have a whole bunch of foam front trucker caps right above me. Or behind me, I guess. If I was wearing one, it'd be above me. But you typically do see on other cap presses a crease form right on the top of that crown where the platen ends, right? That's completely eliminated with the 360 IQ. Even if you do have damaged hats that have that crease, you could load them on the 360 IQ cap press them, and it takes the crease out of them. So now you're taking damaged hats that otherwise you may throw away, you're not able to sell, and now you could sell them. So absolutely incredible piece of technology, and I know a lot of them have been leaving Hottronics in there. And I see that Carly behind the scenes is throwing some links in there too. So if you're following along, and we'll try to include them in the description if you're watching this on a replay. I think I got to the live questions. Keep them coming in, guys. We're going to have fun. We still got, we're maybe not even halfway through. So let's keep going all the way in down. So we talked a little bit about Inktra and goof-proof screen printed transfers, right, already with some of the questions that we've dealt with. But Shane and Chris both had this question this week in the Heat Press for Profit group, right? So what is the difference between Inktra from Stalls and goof-proof transfers from Transfer Express? Well, before we talk about differences, let's talk about the similarities. Yes, they are both screen printed transfers. And what I mean by screen printed transfers is, I have one here, right? So a screen printed transfer is plastisol ink, right? So this is a plastisol ink that we screen print onto a piece of paper or a clear plastic PET carrier. So you don't have to screen print. You don't need a dark room, right? Inks, squeegees, emulsion, the cleanup chemicals, right? When you're printing with plastisol inks, you need lots of chemicals for cleanup. So say you're working in a small shop, a spare office, a spare bedroom, right? So many folks out there in decorators just getting started in a small apartment. I know that's how I started screen printing on my kitchen table, right? Burning screens in the bathroom and making sure that they dried, not being sensitive to light. It was the only interior room without windows. So in the bathroom when they went, right? So you don't need any of that. All you need is a heat press to be able to screen print. And that's really the beauty of screen print transfers. They are the exact same plastisol ink that you would buy to screen print yourself, right? But you don't need any dryers, no presses, screens, emulsions, squeegees, spatulas, all that stuff. You don't need it, right? You could get pretty much the same exact result with just your heat press. And with both of them applying in 7 seconds or 4 seconds with Goof Proof. Goof Proof is just a little bit quicker. 4 seconds is about how long it takes to push ink and pull it, right? So you do your flood stroke to flood the screen with ink, and then you pull and do your shearing of the ink through the screen or the stencil, right? With screen printing. It takes about 4 seconds to do that. So with your heat press, you could do it just as fast without the mess, without any of the setup, any of the equipment, any of the space constraints, and you could do any quantity, right? So that's really the big benefit of using screen print transfers. They are incredibly economical and profit packed for higher volume orders. I'm talking anything really 24, 36 pieces and up with the same design in limited colorways, like I was saying, right? The white ink is 90% of the shirts that I've done over the last 14 years are white ink, typically on a black or like a navy, maroon, a darker color shirt, right? Even if it's black ink on a white shirt, still incredibly economical and affordable. They do apply to cotton, polyester, or cotton poly blends. So a wide range of different shirts and fabrics. You're not limited to just 100% cotton or 100% polyester. And even, let's say 100% polyester, right? Some of those styles, fabrics, garments are very, very difficult to actually screen print on because you're going to put them through a dryer to cure the wet inks, right? If you're traditionally screen printing. And in some cases, you have to get that over a temperature where the fabric's actually going to burn. So you're going to have a problem with that, right? So Goof Proof, Inktra, absolutely phenomenal. I have both right here. Look. So I got, I'm just hiding from view for a second. This is Goof Proof, and this is Inktra. So they feel the same, but the biggest difference, you could probably hear it, is a plastic carrier, right? So Inktra uses a clear carrier, which gives a couple benefits. Number one, easy placement. You could see through it when you're placing it on the garment. So it works great for those higher volume runs, or if you're going vastly in between different sizes from like an extra small up to 2, 3, 4X, right? You could accurately see where it's being placed on the shirt, which is absolutely phenomenal. Now, one other benefit of that clear carrier is that the level of detail that you could achieve with Inktra is a little bit finer, right, than you can with Goof Proof. And that's mostly because little tiny pieces of ink on the paper carrier have a tendency to fall off, right? So with Inktra, you're able to get them on there and they attach and they adhere to that carrier so that they can be shipped to you and still stay on that carrier in that exact spot. So you get a little bit more of the level of detail. Now, as it comes to pricing, Goof Proof is slightly more affordable due to that paper carrier, right? It's just a little bit cheaper than that plastic PET carrier. Both are still incredibly economical and budget friendly. However, it is just slightly less expensive to use a Goof Proof transfer, right? Now, next, the other difference is going to be the application settings. More notably, we already touched a little bit on the time, where Goof Proof starts at 4 to 6 seconds. For multicolor prints, it's 10 seconds. And then Inktra, being just single color, right, that it could apply in 7 seconds, right? So that's one kind of major difference. Not really too bad, 3-second difference. But the big difference is when it comes to temperature, right? Goof Proof standard applies on 100% cotton at 365 degrees. You can go down to 325 with heat sensitive polyester garments, right? And then just increase the dwell time. With Inktra, It starts at $325 if you're printing on cotton. And if you're printing on 100% polyester, synthetic fibers that, you might be worried about the heat sensitivity or the scorching, it goes as low as 285 degrees, under that 300-degree threshold, and should be perfectly fine and not scorch, not damage any apparel. So that's definitely one of the big differences there. The final difference that I could think of right now is kind of the finish and feel as well. So Goof Proof is going to be a little bit more of a soft hand print, where Inktra it still feels like a screen printed shirt, right? Nothing, it doesn't feel plasticky. It's not thick and heavy. It feels like a nice quality retail ready screen printed design when you actually put it on fabric. However, Inktra is just slightly more opaque too, right? So if you put, I know like the common offenders are like yellows, right? Where it's not a fully opaque ink. So it has just a slight transparency to it. And so when you are printing on, say, like a black shirt, that yellow is going to look maybe not as bright and crisp with a Goof Proof, where Inktra looks bright and crisp, a little bit more opaque. Now, of course, because white is such a commonly used color, we do ensure that white is opaque in both Inktra and Goof Proof screen printed transfers. But you'll notice that apples to apples and comparing them. So that's the main difference between Inktra and Goof Proof screen printed transfers. Going back on over to our chat, just to make sure that that we see all of these coming in. I do see a question here. How could I get the transfers in India? So while we don't serve the India, Middle East, or Asia, there is a Stalls Asia that you could contact that may service your area, as well as if Velflex in Australia. They are a absolutely phenomenal. They sell Hotronix heat presses down under, as well as Ultracolor Max. And Ultracolor hybrid products as well. They may be able to ship to India, but don't quote me on that. Check them out, velflex.com or .co. I don't know. I don't know the exact thing. Let's see. J Rabbit coming back in. My cheap Amazon cap press destroys poly blend caps. Yes, and that's what you're going to see typically with some let's say more budget presses, right? It kind of is, you get what you pay for. And while they are okay, I don't know, it kind of hurts me to say that, but I've seen a lot of decorators have success with those presses. But every single one that we've tested is 30 degrees off, either higher or lower, what the thermometer setting is. And sometimes it varies within a 30-degree range. So when you're printing one shirt, you're like, hey, that's great. You print two shirts. Hey, that's great. You print three shirts and now it's failing. It's just because the heating element can't keep up to the demand. So purchasing a quality heat press is definitely going to help you as a decorator. And yeah, we hear some horror stories of the Amazon presses, right? But good thing is that you can get Hotronix presses on Amazon now. Now, you don't get that sweet deal. You have to buy them from Transfer Express for the month of September to get that sweet deal with all those transfer credits on there. So yes, let's see. So since Five Creations has this question here, I paid for a proof, made an order, everything great. Now I need the same proof, but I want to add text. Why can't I design with the existing proof I paid for instead of paying again for a proof? So without knowing the specifics of the artwork that you uploaded, that unfortunately is just the way, that's the way that we have to process the art. Because say if you take a design and just make it smaller, now it could be breaking the print minimums. And it may not print well, right? So it goes back to an artist to be able to look at. Now, I will say that something very, very similar to what you could do, instead of buying a proof, email our customer service and get a custom clip art, right? So then how all the clip art is added into the library in EasyView Online Designer, that design that you created will be available in there, and it's treated as if it's just artwork in the designer, but only your account has access to it. Then you could pull it in, add text to it, and do whatever you want. It is a very comparable price, of course, depending on what product you're ordering, right? I am just going to use Ultracolor Max for this example. That's what we see the most artwork help being used for. Because with screen printed transfers, any like artwork fix and stuff are already included in the price of the transfer for like the gang sheets. So Ultra Color Max is just a little bit different just because of the process of how the artwork is processed. It's not actually burned onto a screen, right? So, and I do want to caveat that the single image program, because the pricing is so low on it and we wanted to keep it economical and affordable. If you're using Easy Prints artwork, absolutely no problem. If you are uploading your own vector artwork, absolutely no problem. But if you have raster artwork, just a photo, PNG, JPEG, that it does incur a $26 proofing fee before you could turn that one into an order. Let's see. Darren asks, can you use the transfer credit on the same order you purchased the press with? So you cannot. The transfer credit is added to your account. Now we're getting into the weeds here, but I love these questions, right? I'm here to help you guys out. The transfer credit is actually added to your account once the heat press leaves the facility and is shipped to you. So typically that could be the next day from your purchase. Say if you ordered this afternoon, right? It's a Friday right now. We go live noon Fridays on all of the Stalls and Transfer Express channels. If you want to tune into the Heat Press for Profit live, just like we have a whole bunch of friends doing with us right now. But say you order a little bit later this afternoon, right? Your heat press most likely will be shipping out on Monday. And then in which case the transfer credit will be added to your account. Then. So you cannot use that transfer credit on any equipment. So you can't go pick up another heat press, right? It's only valid on custom screen printed, digital, or the full color stickers or window clings of what you could get. So a custom transfer order is the only thing that you could use that for. But Darren, that's a great question, and definitely one I had of like, wait, could I get that credit and like just turn around? And now instead of one heat press, I have two heat presses. No, it doesn't work that way, and only one per customer. So take advantage of us while you can here at Transfer Express. Awesome. Keep those questions coming because we just have a few more minutes left. I'm going to jump back in and cover some more pressing questions. And yep, the puns are going to keep coming today. It's Friday. We're having fun. Printing United is next week. So I know everybody's just really, really excited to get to the trade show, talk to decorators just like you. And I mean, it's awesome to hang out online just like this, right? Don't get me wrong, but I would love to hang out in person, love hearing more about your business. I just love leveraging all of the experience that I've got over the past 14 years of being in and out of different commercial print shops, being a decorator myself, right? Being a designer and artist. And so I love leveraging all of the experience I have and the mistakes that I've personally made so that you could be more successful. Absolutely love it. It's why I wake up in the morning, why I do what I do. And I'm so grateful to be in a position to help you guys out. So keep those questions coming. And if you are planning to go to a trade show, stop by and say hi. I would love to chat with you. So let's go. Mad Dog asked this one over on our YouTube channel. When pressing ultra color transfers, do you change the pressure when using smaller platens? Which that is an absolutely fantastic question and one that I feel is often overlooked. So the short answer, yes. If you are changing your platen from the full size 16 by 20 and you have a Hotronix press with the interchangeable platen system, right? That you can, which is another thing that you can't get on those Amazon presses, right? So you remove the platen, you switch it down to a smaller one, maybe the 8 by 10, right? You're doing just some left chests, some onesies, or isolating a pocket or something, a backpack, whatever it may be. You do want to reduce the pressure. So say you're using goof-proof screen printed transfers. It presses at a 6 to 8, a medium to firm pressure. Well, the press is calibrated to know that it's pressing against a 16 by 20, a full size area, right? So when we reduce with a force pushing back on it, we're actually increasing the pounds per square inch of what we're pushing down. And I, of course, told you I went to art school, right? I'm not a physicist. I'm not good into mathematics. So we had experts who are good with numbers actually run the conversions. But say that 8 by 10 is a 75% smaller area than the full 16 by 20 size. So we're going to compensate our pressure by 75%. So that medium to firm pressure, that 6 to 8, now turns down to like a 2 or a 3, right? On the pressure setting. just to ensure that we are not super smashing it down. The easiest way to think about it, right, is I know there was the analogy that I use a lot of like a high-heeled shoe, right? If I just stood on a ceramic tile on one foot, I'm not going to crack the tile, right? Because the weight of my entire body is spread out across the entire surface of the bottom of my shoe. Now, if I was wearing a high-heeled shoe and balanced on just my heel, now I'm taking all of my weight and condensing it down to that one little point. So the pounds per square inch, instead of spread out across the entire base of my shoe, now it's just on one little quarter inch by quarter inch area. And that's very similar to what's happening with the heat press. So you will want to compensate when you do. I see Doug here reading the question back again, ultra color transfers, right? So you will want to reduce the pressure. Now, one thing is you want to make sure that you don't reduce it too much, which is another thing that having a quality heat press is going to help out with, because you have that digital readout. So you could actually see a number value. If you started at an 8 and you have to get down to a 2 or 3, that you could get down to a 2 or 3. That dual air fusion we were talking about earlier automatically tells you what its pressure setting is at, right? So it's 20 psi of what it's being pushed through there on that. Awesome. Let's see. Since 5 says I'll look at the clip art folder. Yeah, look at that custom clip art, because then, or look into it, because it is a very similar fee to the proofing cost. And then you could have that artwork. If you know you're going to be ordering it all the time, have that artwork added right into your account and be able to pull it and modify it however you want all the time. Just want to make sure we're not missing any more questions. Awesome. We got a few more here that I will try to get through in the next 10 minutes or so. But if you're tuning in live, go ahead and leave those questions wherever you're tuning in from. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, all of the questions come here into the studio in real time. And I would love to be able to answer them before it goes into the weekend, right? You don't want a question just hanging out there all week or all weekend. Let me answer it and let's have a great Friday together, right? So on Instagram yesterday, right, we put up our story, got any questions for Dave? And we had two people asked the same exact question. So Lisa C and Evie Embroidery asked, how could you prevent scorching, right? And this is a very, very common question we see quite often, right? And the easiest way to prevent scorching is, number one, using the arch method. So arch, A-R-C-H. Think of arch, right? So the first step of arch, number one, is accurate pressure. Just like we were talking about with those smaller pressing areas, if you are at the right temperature and you're just slamming the pressure down on it, you may damage the fibers of the shirt. And usually when you see that scorching or that sheen, it is the difference in texture, right? I say crop circles, but like you're flattening the fibers instead of standing up. Now the fibers of the t-shirt, because they're getting hit with so much pressure, they lay down. Now from the screen printing world, we saw this too, right? So this isn't just a heat printing issue, right? You could also have it in screen printing. If the squeegee is larger than the platen area and the pressure is too high, you're going to see the same flattening and then the difference of texture of the printing area versus the non-printing area, right? You want to avoid those press boxes, right? So accurate pressure is the number one step. Make sure you are using an accurate pressure for the transfer type you're using, for the fabric type that you are using, right? I always defer, number one, just completely to what the transfer type specifies. So if it says 5 to 6 on pressure or a medium pressure, set it at that medium pressure, right? We have a whole bunch of videos over on our YouTube page, both on Stalls TV and the Transfer Express YouTube channel, that show you, even if you don't have a pressure reading, how to ensure you are at the perfect pressure, right? And then also, the next step in reducing scorching or preventing scorching is using a lower heat transfer. So say I'm putting on a 100% polyester polo, right? A common request. Everybody loves the wrinkle-free, moisture-wicking polos. Incredibly popular now. I know I love wearing them, right? Almost wore one today. But if you know you're going to be printing on a heat-sensitive item, go ahead and choose a transfer type that applies at a lower temperature, right? Ultracolor Max, 290 degrees. We were talking about Inktra applying as low as 285 degrees, under that 300 degree Fahrenheit scorchable threshold, right? So you could absolutely get through that and be able to print no problem. And that's going to be the goal with a reduced heat transfer. you're printing on 100% polyester and you're using a heat transfer like hot split, right? That should be applied at like 370 degrees. You're probably going to scorch it. So check the application temperature of the transfer type when you're planning your project, right? And especially when you get rolling, you find what works. Oh, I love Ultra Color Pro on 100% polyester polos, right? Or if it has a little bit of spandex in it, that Ultra Color Max prints absolutely flawlessly, right? So you'll start to see what really works for you. And then you start to find these styles that you could almost recommend, right? A customer comes in, hey, I'm just looking for like a wrinkle-free, kind of like dry fit Nike polo, but I don't want to pay for that price, right? And you're like, cool. I know exactly. I'm going to the Mercer and Metal from Sanmar. It is a great polo. Feels and wears just like a fitted Nike performance polo for a fraction of the cost. Or if a customer wants Nike, right, or Adidas or whatever it is, you go out and get it for them, right? But a lot of customers don't know the blanks. They'll tell you what they want, but they don't know which one to choose. So you could go choose it yourself. Next up, arch method, right? A was accurate pressure. R is reduced heat transfer. C is using the correct cover sheet, right? So with a lot of different transfer types, you can use cover sheets. Just be mindful that it is going to block the heat from the heating element. Anything you're putting in the way, right? Whether it be a piece of paper, whether it be one of the thick silicone application pads, maybe that flexible gray pad, right? Anything you put in between the heating element and the transfer is going to block heat. In some cases, up to 30 or 40 degrees of heat. So you're going to have to compensate your time and use the right cover sheet, right? So if you're going to be blocking that heat from a transfer like goof proof, right? It needs to be able to get that heat to have those inks liquefy, right? And sit down in the fibers of that shirt before you peel the carrier away. If you are blocking that heat, it's not going to apply correctly. So ensure that you're using the correct cover sheet for the correct application of what you're using. Cover sheets, they are great for not damaging apparel, right? For the sole reason that it's blocking the heat from passing through from the heating element to the transfer. And so you want to make sure you're using the right one. Now, of course, the last step, H, in our arch is worst case scenario, you could use a lower heated platen. I've seen this used on a lot of those polyester and performance wear. While we don't have like the recipe set for it, you could usually get pretty close with just say if it applies at 290 degrees, you could essentially turn the heating element, the top heating element off, use the lower heating element. So with like a power platen for Hotronix presses, or if you have one of those Hotronix 360 IQ presses with the lower heat for a hat press, right? Say you're just doing a little left chest on a polo, you could fit that on the cap press, use the lower heat at the application temperature. Don't use the upper heat, or you could use a really thick cover sheet that blocks all of that heat while still providing the pressure, right? And then you're heating the adhesive from the underside. If you are scorching the apparel, you're scorching the inside of the apparel where nobody's ever going to see it, right? You're not damaging the outside for that fluctuation in the exterior sheen. Now, I will say we don't have a lot of time to get into it, but we have seen a kind of movement growing about proximity pressing, right? So essentially, like if I know it's a very heat sensitive item and I'm just printing a little 2-inch circle, essentially cutting a mouse pad or a print perfect pad to that exact size of the logo and just raising the print area to print right on there. It does take some practice and maybe we'll make a video coming out soon because the results are absolutely phenomenal where you could print on super heat sensitive garments, zero damage, zero appearance of any press box, right? So I think the term currently is proximity pressing, but that is for another time. We could have an entire podcast solely about that. Excellent. I just want to check these chats. Let's see. Jay Rabbit, great questions here today. Difference between cover sheet and Teflon cover sheet. Is it just the texture? It can be the texture. So we did an entire breakdown about a year ago. I took all the different cover sheets, right? Whether they be Teflon, paper, the silicone ones, right? And stacked them up. Do they change the appearance of a transfer if you're using them as like a post press, right? And you will find that Teflon or any of those non-stick will shine up the design, right? Where like something like a paper, parchment, craft paper starts to matte the appearance of whatever you're printing down. So paper mattes it, We've seen folks even use like canvas, like just cotton duck canvas, right? And use that as a cover sheet. And it does input a little bit of like a texture to it, which is great if you're using, a thicker transfer, something that doesn't really take on the appearance of the fabric that you're printing on. You could use that, but Ultra Color Max, one hit. You don't need a cover sheet. Peel that hot peel carrier, and you'll see the texture of the fabric showing up right through it. Unless it's a really, really super fine weave, in which case you're never going to see that texture of the fabric because it is so fine. And those are great for printing on. I love the way they feel. Love that nice, smooth, even surface. Cotton, ring spun, combed is what you're looking for. So combed, ring spun cotton. Ring spun is going to clean up a lot of those thick kind of the flyaways. Maybe I have some in my hair for my non-ring spun hair. So like the yarn itself, ring spun is just going to make sure it's a little bit tighter, and combed ensures that everything, all of those fibers are facing the same direction before they get spun into a yarn. So it is even finer, and a great surface for printing on. Asia has a great question. Where do I sell my finished products? Right. And this is we could literally spend the next 45 minutes talking about it, because there's a ton of different ways that you could sell it. So where is your niche, right? So are you printing for schools, athletics, just spirit wear, local community stuff? Sell them to where those people are going to be. If it's farmers markets, the art festivals, it's getting a little late in the season for a lot of those like summer festivals, block parties, stuff like that. You could bring, you could set up a booth there, even renting a booth, right? So for some of those events, farmers markets, a great way to get your foot in the door in the community, get a name out there. Of course, we've seen a lot of success on social media. So TikTok shop and Instagram, like being able to find your people, right? Find your audience, the people who are going to want to buy your stuff. If it's again, local community groups, or if it is a certain interest, right? You're really into hiking and making a whole bunch of hiking themed apparel. Start to interact with groups and pages that the influencers, right? And you could start to build your name that way. You could set up online stores, right? So we have some platforms like Fulfill Engine, where you're able to just set up online stores and sell for people. If you are a custom decorator, right? I always recommend starting in your own backyard. Who do you already do business with? Whether it be landscapers, handymen, painters, mechanics, right? Who do you do business with in your local community? Because that's your foot in the door, right? You already purchased from them. They're way more likely to purchase from you. So if you want to get into custom work, that's definitely the way to go, right? Let's see, where else can you sell your apparel? At schools, right? If you want to get into schools, start attending the PTA meetings, right? Start going to the athletic booster club events, right? To get your foot in the door. That's definitely one way to look at it. So we have tons of videos on our YouTube channels that do dive into like how to sell either custom printed apparel or your own brand, right? So online is usually kind of a little bit harder to break into. But of course, you could go with sites like that, or those marketplaces like Etsy, right? You'll see a lot of competition on those sites, but you are going to be able to pretty much immediately sell super low cost. I think it's 20 cents to put a listing up on Etsy. So a lot of stuff, right? Let's see. This is a question that came in from Instagram from Mitivol. I hope I pronounced that right. Apologies, and I'm sure it's on your site. What is the standard life expectancy for a goof-proof transfer? 50 washes, 25 washes, forever. And so you nailed it right on there. The industry standard, right, is 50 washing cycles for a decorated garment, whether it be screen printed, whether it be sublimated, however you're direct to garment, right? Because t-shirts really start to break down, especially just like the ones that we're printing on all the time, the economical ones, right? You'll be lucky if you get 50 washes before it starts getting holes in it, threads start pulling on it, and whatnot. So in many cases, goof-proof transfers will outlive the garment that they're printed on. So 50 washing cycles is what we actually have them sent out and independently tested for. But I will caveat this, right? When applied correctly. That when applied correctly means that you're following the instructions and you have accurate application settings, right? So, You know that your heat press is at 365 degrees. You know that your time is fixed to 4 to 6 seconds. Or if you're doing a multicolor print, printing it for the full 10 seconds. Your pressure is that medium to firm pressure, a 6 to 8 if you have a readout. If you're using PSI, it's 60 to 80 PSI, right? So, and you're peeling hot. So you're following those application instructions, because I will say, I went to a barbecue restaurant and bought a t-shirt at it, right? It was in Texas, the best barbecue I've ever had, right? My friends down in South Carolina are going to argue with me on that, but I bought the shirt, loved it, right? I put it on before even washing it while I was still in Texas, and the print cracked. Not even washed once, right? So it's when applied correctly. Just like that, and that was a traditional screen printed shirt, right? So I don't know if they were water-based inks or plastisol, but it cracked the first time I put it on. So just like with any print method, as long as it's being applied properly, cured properly, right, to the shirt, that you're going to have absolutely no problem with it lasting pretty much for the lifetime of the garment. So I hope that one answers that. Awesome. We are kind of rolling over time here. Get your final questions in, because we're going to have to wrap this one up. Let me go through and grab one more question. Just looking in here. One quick one that we had on Facebook this week was, can Flex Broidery patches, which Flex Broidery, if you haven't heard of them or seen them, head on over to Stalls. An incredible dimensional emblem that you could get. They essentially are a flexible plastic emblem, heat applied patch, but they're digitized to look like they're embroidered, right? So say you're going on those performance wicking polos, the real thin fabrics, and somebody wants an embroidered look. You don't actually want to embroider on that, because it's going to be all puckered, right? That thread's going to really destroy that thin fabric and be uncomfortable to wear. So this Flex Broidery, right, looks exactly like real embroidery, gives that dimensional tactile touch to it too, so it feels premium. But yes, the question is, can Flex Broidery patches have free floating text, or does everything have to be connected to one blob? Things could be free floating. So if you just have words, right? Stalls, STAHLS, right? They don't have to be connected. They could be free floating. It comes on a plastic carrier. That's a quick one in there. And yeah, get those questions in, guys. Come on, get your questions in. I want to be able to help. I want to be able to hang out, right? And so this will be the last one that I'm reading off the list here before we wrap it up. Let's just pull it in. Kimberly, right? Looking at purchasing a second press this week is a great time to be able to look into it, because you could get those transfer credits right until the end of September. Kimberly says, I'm having trouble seeing what the $300 difference is between the A to Z 15 by 15 press and the Max, which is a clamshell style press, right? We have an A to Z now, and it's been great for what we've needed for 3 years. The Hottronics full size 16 by 20 is on my wish list because of the interchangeable platens, but it is a hefty price. So the Max press is also available in that 16 by 20, but the major difference between these two presses, one is a clamshell style, so one just opens and closes, while the other one is a swing away press. So the upper platen swings away. So if you don't have the room for essentially a heat press and then another heat press right beside it, side by side, for swinging that upper platen away, you're going to want to go with the Max, right? But I will say, I love all of the Max presses, whether it's a full-size one or not, is that they are compatible with all of those interchangeable platens, right? So you unlock that. You also have compatibility with the caddy stand. So you have full 100% threadability, right? And I do think it is a little bit more, the Max is essentially the same as the auto clam, minus the pressure readout, right? So I love that pressure readout, but with the Max, you lose that, and you only have a single step timer. So the auto clam has a 2-step timer. So it is a little bit more economical version of the auto clam, but other than that, it is the same frame. It is the same heating element. It's the same mechanisms and pneumatic pistons on the back that help it open and close, right? So it's a little bit more effortless to use. Over the center pressure adjustment knob is just absolutely bulletproof. I know the one on the A to Z is on the back arm, which the back arm does raise and lower the entire press. So it's not like those clamshell styles that have the pressure knob on the back that introduce pinch points. So it still is that even pressure across the entire printing area. But I just like the placement of the max right on up front. So for me, that $300 difference is going to be in the longevity. It's going to be in the upgradability of it, right? It's going to be able to grow with you where, yes, the A to Z does have one additional platen that you could unscrew and drop it in, but then that is not compatible with any other press. If you were to upgrade to another Hotronics press down the line, any of those platens that you use with the Max can also be used for the Hotronics presses. So make sure they're all in there. Let's see. Mike has a question here. Great show. Sent you a message on Insta a few weeks ago. Actually sent it as an invite instead. Resend message. Yeah. That one got cut off there, but yeah, feel free to reach out on Instagram, any one of these. I'm always happy to help, right? We do live webinars all the time. We have live education, and we're at trade shows all around. Oh, that one did get cut off, and it said, are you accessible? So I am. Not like super responsive in the middle of the night, although I respond to every single one of the YouTube the comments on the Transfer Express channel. Not, let's say 99.9% of them. And usually at 2 in the morning, when I'm laying in bed before I go to bed, I'll go through and read comments. I check them every morning as well. So if you want a direct line to me, you absolutely could on the Transfer Express YouTube page, but you have to subscribe, right? Or feel free to find me on Instagram. I try to be as helpful as I can. And that's just at Dave Prince Shirts. So I try to be accessible. Yeah, I love to help, right? So anything I could do to help your business succeed, feel free to reach on out. And of course, just like interactive lives like this, our webinars, able to answer these questions all live in real time. Craig, what's up, Craig? From Hagen Home Goods. I believe I remember that name, HHG. Craig says go Max all day. So we'll pull that one up. I know, Craig, you do have a Max press. And absolutely love it. Yeah, I see you using it all the time with those Ultra Color Max transfers over on Instagram. But Craig tuning in here with us on YouTube today. Came in late, and happy Friday. Happy Friday, Craig. Always great to see you. And Craig, we got to hang out. I think that was Atlantic City this year. We always have these events and happy hours after the show. So just being able to chat, whether it be about, I think we talked plenty about apparel decorating, and we chatted plenty about non-apparel decorating too. So a whole bunch of stuff. Always happy to hang out with you guys. So yeah, Mike, if you want to reach out, go ahead and feel free to reach out. But we're going to wrap this one up here today. I really want to say thank you guys for hanging out, asking your questions. If you think of anything else, drop them in the comments wherever you're watching the replay at. If you're tuning in late, we're always happy to help in any way we can, for whether it be me, anybody behind the scenes on social media, Jenna, Kelly, Josh, right? We are here as Stalls to help your business thrive. We are 100% in your corner every single time, regardless of, the size or scale of your business, right? We want to help you learn. We want to help you succeed. And the community that we have here is built to help you connect and reach your success, regardless of what it looks like, right? Commercial shop, their success is defined completely differently from somebody just getting started with a side hustle in, a spare bedroom or a basement, right? We are here for you, and we want to support your goals, regardless of what they look like. So be sure to check out stalls.com as well as transferexpress.com. On Transfer Express, you get those account credits, right? Dollar for dollar match on heat presses until the end of September. Just too good of a deal not to tell you about it, right? Take advantage of that. Because essentially you use those $2,000 of heat transfer credits. You're going to mark those up at least times 2, right? So you're getting a free heat press, and you're going to make $2,000 over the next span of 9 months on the low end, right? That's great. That's really cool, right? So a great opportunity for decorators just getting started, or if you already have a shop and just looking to add on a different heat press, even taking one for the road, right? Or expanding those capabilities. So yeah, check out transferexpress.com. Both of the YouTube pages, so Stalls TV or Transfer Express, I should say, and Transfer Express, because we have great content dropping every single week. Again, built to help inspire new ideas or talk about new products coming down the pipeline. And you're the first to know if you go over and subscribe there. I'm betting if you're watching with us live, you already subscribed to us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook. But we have tons of on-demand education always available whenever you need it. But until next time, I will see you guys on the next podcast. Yeah, we will see you guys. I see Brad. One last question. Brad, you got the last question in. Can we use the special for heat presses at Stalls? No. Only at Transfer Express. You'll get those account credits that you could use. Now, you could still get Ultracolor Max, right? You're using Ultracolor Max direct to film transfers. You could order them at Transfer Express as well. So you could use those there. Now, I didn't really mention it, but you could still get the special on the Hotronix Autoclam at stalls.com. And that's a free caddy stand, right? $550 value on wheels, able to move the press around, adjustable height for ergonomics, and it is free with all autoclams from Stalls. If you're using the special and getting all of those account credits at Transfer Express, you cannot also get the stand. So, yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for hanging out today. And until the next time, happy pressing, and we'll see you guys.